Sports Professor Rick Horrow with Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that goes beyond, and through and inside the trillion-dollar business of sports. This week, more than ever, congratulations to the Caps. Not only that, the Vegas Knights as well. How about the NBA wrapping up? We'll see what happens off-season. And LeBron, Major League Baseball, ready for All-Star Week in D.C., a month away at most. And obviously, NFL camps opening up pretty quickly as well. If you want to get all of the issues that are not just the top stories in sports, but also philanthropy and power sports, by all means take a look at us and see us in Washington. Our Horrow Sports Ventures, 15 to watch. Rick Horrow at Rick Horrow on Twitter, horrowsports.com. And also subscribe to us on Apple and look for us on Stitcher, Google Play, Audio Boom, iTunes feed, and everywhere else the way we normally show up. We have all of the issues this week in an incredibly busy time. And before we even start with that, we've got to get specific about the Capitals. Long last, the cusp of greatness, but here they are. The first championship effectively since the Super Bowl in '92 for the Redskins. Ted Leonsis talks about the goal being to create something that elevates and unites all of the people in the community, so people think happy thoughts about Washington, D.C. Alexander Ovechkin and the Caps celebrate their triumph. The Golden Knights, 500-1 odds beginning of the season. They almost won. By the way, had they won, the Vegas casinos fork over $6 million in wagers, and despite the loss, the Golden Knights cement themselves in their new city, gave people in the desert a reason to like hockey, gave the popular destination yet another tourist draw. But for Washington, happy thoughts generated by the Caps win also smile on regionally based businesses like Edelman Financial. And we've also talked about EverFi, who has a school deal with Alex Ovechkin, certainly the right time, so philanthropy abounds as well. And then the other piece of this, obviously, is the commitment on the basketball side. The Oracle Arena, 10,000 NBA championship gear items in the first hour after the Warriors' NBA final sweep. A lot of people not excited about Cavaliers Warriors number 4. But now, of course, the NBA spotlight turns to LeBron James, where he takes his free agent talent this summer. I'm in Miami, been through this before, so we'll tune in and see what happens, as if you'll have a choice. Bottom line is Nike spotlighted Kevin Durant with a video celebrating his jersey from Texas, and the sweep was more popular because I guess it was for Game 4 and they saw the beginning of the dynasty. Then Game 7, where they played the Rockets. Steph Curry, household name. Kevin Durant, household name. But now we're in the off season, and we talk about mid-markets, and we talk about what happens with LeBron James. And it is important to take a look at the entire NBA, because the NBA is no stronger than its weakest link. And we've caught up during Indy 500 week with Jim Morris, the vice chairman of Pacers Sports and Entertainment. He also served as a director of Old National Bank Corp. Here's his philanthropic interest. He served as executive director of the United Nations World Food Program, the largest humanitarian agency in the world addressing world hunger, from 2002 to 2007. An incredible philanthropist. He's done everything. Administrative assistant to the chief of staff for the office of the mayor of the city of Indianapolis from 67 to 73. Been involved with Lilly Endowment, as you know, one of the motivating driving forces behind Indy being one of the sports capitals of the world. He's also been involved and a director of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But most important, I guess, as the vice chairman of Pacers Sports and Entertainment, he's important for the entire NBA. Television contract, what happens with folks like LeBron, how do you distribute wealth, are there capabilities for middle market teams like Oklahoma City or the Pacers to ever compete again, and obviously a big case for all NBA teams to have some ability to not only win, develop a process where you can go from worst to first, or at least have a chance to economically compete. For a lot of different reasons, Jim Morris is not just applicable to Indiana, but the entire NBA as well. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, inside the boardroom, beyond the scoreboard, industry leaders And nobody better as an industry leader, not just from Indianapolis, but the NBA and the Pacers and Pacers Sports and Entertainment. Jim Morris, Vice Chairman, Pacers Sports and Entertainment. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, wonderful. Thank you very much for doing this. And notwithstanding your team not being in the conference finals or the NBA finals, good season?
Yeah, we had a great season. The trade with Oklahoma City, where we picked up Victor Oladipo and Sabonis, was just terrific. Kevin Pritchard had another good offseason, picking up 2 or 3 more really good players. Great young men, love being in Indianapolis. Our fans love them. We gave Cleveland as good a run for 7 games as anybody could. Our attendance was terrific. People are really excited about the Indiana Pacers.
Do you have one of those countdown clocks for the 2021 All-Star Game, or is it too far away? You're excited about it, though.
We are. It's a big deal, and to bring it to our city, that year we'll, within a 12, 13-month period, we will have the NCAA Final Four for all 3 divisions in the state of Indiana. We'll host Division I here. We'll have the NBA All-Star Game. We'll have the College Football Championship here that year. We'll have the Big Ten Football Championship here that year, the Big Ten Basketball Tournament for men and women. So it'll be an extraordinary year. But we have our committees organized. It's an expensive proposition. The payoff is enormous, but we have to raise a lot of money. And all the civic leaders and the public officials have come together to put together a team to raise the money to do the job. Indianapolis is one of those places where the Pacers support the Colts support the Pacers, the Speedway supports everyone, the NCAA is here, and we're all for each other. And so when something big comes along, it's something we all share and we all own.
Maybe you just answered it. Eli Lilly, amateur sports capital of the world, NCAA, Pacers, Colts, Super Bowl 2012. You can name the history of things in Indy. And from an international perspective, it's basically a best practices template. A lot of cities want to do it. Very few cities do. What's so special about Indy? How did you accomplish all that?
Well, I would say in the last 30 years, we've had 400-500 national, international championships. The professional teams are doing well. The Speedway is headed in the right direction. We've seen this as an opportunity to tell the world about our city's reputation. We've seen this as an opportunity to change the economics of our community. Today, I can remember when Indianapolis didn't have any hotels or any restaurants downtown. Last year, USA Today said Indianapolis was the #1 convention city in America. Today, there are 80,000 people in central Indiana employed in sports, hospitality, tourism, restaurants, etc. And we've found this as a tremendous community building exercise. We hosted the Pan American Games in 1987, and we had 40,000 volunteers who came together in a community endeavor, people from every conceivable background, to do something together to make our city different and better. And this has worked. We've found a great way to build community, to inspire our young people, and we've kept a huge focus on our downtown so that the facilities, the events belong to everyone in central Indiana, wherever you may live, and it's worked.
Rumor has it, says the bio, 50 years ago you were chief of staff and administrative assistant to the mayor of Indianapolis. Seems like only yesterday, but you, among more than anybody, would understand the necessity for public-private partnerships. This region has set the standard for public investment. What do you say to people that say you shouldn't spend any public money in sports?
Well, I would say that basically cities compete. Indianapolis competes with every city in the world. It used to be only in the U.S., but now we compete with Hong Kong and Tokyo and London. We compete for bright young people. We compete for investment capital. We compete for jobs. We want to be a place that people want to come to. The success of Indianapolis in the long term is based on Eli Lilly and Company, this remarkable pharmaceutical company recruiting the best, most brilliant young scientists in the world to come. And why will they come? Well, they'll come because life is good, because schools are good, healthcare is good, we have a great symphony, sports, opportunities for their kids. And a city our size, to have these extraordinary aspirations to become something really special, it takes all of us working together. And the public-private partnership, philanthropy, charity, generosity of people across the board, the willingness of public leaders to make investments with the private sector, it has transformed our city, and the return has been enormous. It's contributed to a growing tax base. It's contributed to a place that has a much different reputation today, and it's a place that very bright young people, want to come and live.
So, interesting legacy from your perspective with your other hat as the Pacers, Indiana Pacers Sports Entertainment co-chair. ABA team merged in. The Colts moved from somewhere else. It hadn't had really an expansion per se, but the Pacers have been really the fabric of the Indianapolis community. Talk about that for a minute.
Sure. Well, 50 years ago when the ABA Pacers came into being, some remarkable citizens stretched hard to make it happen. We had a great run. Bobby Leonard, 3 ABA champions, led to 4 teams from the ABA going into the NBA. And the NBA Pacers made Indianapolis a big league city. And we did it downtown where all the benefits accrued to the city. And it gave, I think, the Colts confidence that they could come and be successful here. The Speedway, obviously, the largest sporting event in the world. That we had the wherewithal and the focus and the commitment and the passion to get it done.
And as far as the Pacers are concerned, how does the NBA make it easier, does it, for a mid-market, small-market team to coexist?
Well, it's tough. I mean, if you look at, we compete with Los Angeles and New York and Miami and Chicago.
But by the way, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago successfully on the court, I might add.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, we pay the same salaries that they pay, but you look at their local cable deals that are 20, 30 times bigger than ours. We've had this good civic partnership that's made it possible, but the NBA has been supportive of revenue sharing and has made it easier for small market teams to make it.
Future NBA, wave your magic wand. What's the one thing you want to change, the NBA?
Well, I'm excited about the NBA. I think it's as strong today. Attendance is up. Our television ratings are up. Our attendance is very strong. Our fans are excited about our team. Obviously, these issues of one and done and young people and how all this works together, I think is something that we need to resolve over time. But I'm very bullish on the future of the NBA. We're lucky. Adam Silver is as good a guy and as competent a commissioner and understands all of the dynamics, and he's an honorable man. So we've got great leadership at the top. Our franchise has strong ownership, so it's all headed in the right direction.
I'm saving the most important to me, anyway, question for last. You were executive director of the United Nations World Food Program, the largest humanitarian agency in the world, assessing and dealing with world hunger for a long time. Very significant part of your world. Obviously, why'd you do it? Comfortable about doing it, but what's your perception of philanthropy in the world of sports today?
Well, I think that our owners are very generous. Our owners, by and large, fall in love with their communities. Herb Simon owns the Pacers because he knows it's good for Indianapolis and wants it to be of great benefit to our community. And his sense of ownership is that everybody who lives in Indiana, in fact, owns the Pacers. And this is a community with a partnership mentality. We help each other. For a city our size to do extraordinary things, we have to come together. There was a point where we had 120 companies in Indianapolis contributing 2 to 5% of pre-tax profits for charitable purposes, and it transformed our city. But a sharing mentality, not being selfish, caring about everybody across the board, sort of builds the reputation of the city, of the franchise, and we're all in this together. And I think you would find that our philanthropy is widespread, as is many of professional sports, but it pays off. People have confidence and respect and appreciate the generosity and the sharing mentality. And sharing is really about caring and about building a community, and it works.
Key to mid-markets behaving as a big market. We're all in this together. You heard Jim Morris. Thank you very much, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Jim Morris has a lot to say, obviously, but he's also very philanthropic. Last weekend, the Pacers held the annual Caroline Sims Memorial Celebrity Softball Challenge, the 10th year. Pacers forward Miles Turner brings about a win for the Pacers in his first year as team captain. Charity events become a staple of summer in Indy. Pits the Pacers against the Colts, Team Turner and Team Mathis, but who wins is the Indiana Children's Wish Fund, something that everybody wanted to do, along with Make-A-Wish Foundation. The bottom line is this is a big deal from a medical perspective as well. Athletes looking to do what they can to raise money and do what they can to promote health of others. How about sports industry leader Embody awarding $800,000 for a Catalyst grant? Michael Francis, the PhD and chief science officer and co-founder, led the grant, won over 25 applicants and top scored proposals. The $800,000 grant to advance the development and animal testing of the microfluidics extrusion program for collagen fiber production. How does that sound? What does that mean? Well, it really means that collagen internal braces may be on the market soon as a fast-track product. And as the NBA and NHL enter the offseason and as the NFL revs up, could mark a huge step forward for the recoveries of athletes and others suffering from traumatic injuries and tissue regeneration, and done the right way. Follow this company. It's really important. But bottom line is athletes recovering, athletes philanthropic. Those are all really important issues. Speaking of important issues, let's go to the NFL. You can't have a broadcast podcast even in June, and you can't be able to even mention the NFL. Well, how about Baker Mayfield? Speculated to have a tough time signing endorsements because of his off-field issues, but before playing a single game with the Browns, he's already got endorsement deals with Nike, Panini, Leaf Trading Cards, Bose, New Era, PSD, and H&H Sports. It's been the thing of leaving Oklahoma City, convincing the Browns that his antics are a thing of the past, and starring in Behind Baker, a 10-episode series on Facebook Watch that followed the quarterback leading up to the NFL draft. Mayfield, represented by a team at Waterhouse Hayes, Los Angeles, they've been taking a proactive approach to getting their client a list of sponsors before the season takes off, as opposed to a wait-and-see approach that other brands are taking with him. Mayfield clearly the front and center Browns' just-announced edition of Hard Knocks, and if the trailers HBO released over the past few days mirror the upcoming show, watch what happens. And by the way, it's not just the NFL, but how about the XFL? We're all in this dueling franchise league, what's real and what's not. But now the XFL has hired, guess who? Oliver Luck, World League of American Football, Houston Dynamo, West Virginia Athletic Director, NCAA, Andrew's dad. He has a real passion for football, and the opportunity to collaborate with Vince McMahon is awesome, says Luck. And boosting the fledgling league even more than Luck's experience, sterling reputation, and the widespread respect that he's earned. So, as we go into the summer, Where does LeBron go? And what happens with the NFL as it relates to some of these other leagues? Those are big, big issues as well. Finally, let's go to the World Cup, and let's go to soccer. Semi-finally, then we're going to go to golf. Well, the World Cup is important, obviously, as we begin what happens all over the world without the United States being involved. Let's see what happens with the dollars that are not going to happen or are going to happen. My prediction is that United States soccer is important, but it's not going to dominate the headlines, certainly after the first couple of games. Univision, for example, delivering tech-infused World Cup coverage. The World Cup with ranging augmented reality, teleportation. They are the home to soccer in the U.S. now as far as the Latin audience, and excited to deliver their content. The Spanish language sports network clearly has an advantage to be able to take this on the road and be able to focus on the American perspective, even without the United States in it. But then, what about the final piece at soccer? FC Cincinnati prepares to join the league, the MLS, $212 million, 21,000-seat soccer-specific stadium in downtown Cincy. City and state committed $35 million and $4 million, respectively. But Goldman Sachs could loan managing owner Carl Lindner III the necessary capital to build the stadium. New York Investment Bank provided funding for 4 clubs. We know about these. LA Football Club, $180 million. Orlando City, $100 million. 120. DC United gets $100 million to do their deal, and there is a 4th team. And on top of the cost to build a new stadium, FC Cincinnati has to pay a $150 million expansion fee, a number continuing to increase by $10 million a year. The rising cost not expected to plateau anytime soon. The sign that the league is certainly growing. Then finally, I'm going to Shinnecock for a day, and then going to Africa for golf and a safari. I'll report when I get back. But the Shinnecock interest is most significant for everybody in the golf world. Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed sit as favorites. Tiger Woods' 10-year anniversary of his most recent major. Can you believe it's been 10 years? The U.S. Open, 9,000 entrants, USGA. So the competitors of the field expected to be up. More than 150 countries and territories broadcasting, and it's also testament to how truly global the game has become. At home, the economic impact, about $120 million for Long Island, about the same number as Wisconsin for Erin Hills last year. Oakmont in Pittsburgh, 120. Chambers Bay in Washington, around Seattle, 140 million. The impressive numbers driven by the golf industry's continued growth. Not only that, 8,000 hotel rooms on eastern Long Island booked to the gills. $84 million industry, up an impressive 22% in the last 5 years. It impacts nearly 2 million jobs across the country, supporting $60 billion in annual wage income. And many people forget that the country club sport is actually a major economic driver nationwide, significant source of jobs, consumer spending, and tax revenue. And at the same time, from the golf perspective, Discovery signs a massive 12-year, $2 billion deal for the TV and online rights to the PGA Tour beginning next year. The media giant planning to develop a Netflix-style video service to deliver the coverage to consumers across the globe while showing tournaments on its regular list of TV channels. In signing the deal, Discovery now controls the rights to more than 140 tournaments annually and 40 PGA Tour events. This marks the latest step in Discovery's push to become a major player in global sports broadcasting, coming 3 years after it agreed to pay $1.5 billion for the European rights to 18 and 24 Winter Olympics. Discovery could look to sublicense select tournament rights to certain markets, allowing various major broadcasters to hold on to their current PGA Tour rights. But the deal excites the Tour, which recently opened offices in the PGA Tour. We're talking about Tokyo, Beijing, London, and looking to expand its brand internationally. Well, I'm ready for some golf, but I'm also ready for football, the All-Star game, excitement about the Capitals parade. And on to Africa, we'll talk about that when I get back. But in the meantime, we'd like to thank Tanner Simpkins and Dan Martin for dealing with this podcast as usual. I'd like to thank Jim Morris for adding his perspective and expertise about the NBA. And thank you for continuing to listen and watch. And join us next time when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.